Hey everybody, the upscaling wars are really heating up now, and Intel is stepping into the ring with their own technology, XeSS. Now this is a lot more similar to FSR 2 and Nvidia DLSS 2 and onwards, because it uses previous frames for temporal data to improve the upscaling we see here. With the original implementation of something like FSR 1, that didn't use temporal data at all and just upscaled the image directly, which didn't look as good as we have in the modern renditions. Today we're testing out Death Stranding Definitive Edition and Marvel's Spider-Man. For Spider-Man, it was officially added, but you do need to tweak it a little bit with a mod to enable it in the in-game menu currently. Also, this is coming to other games like the Riftbreaker, Hitman 3. It's also in Shadow of the Tomb Raider right now, but if I try to get that game to run in DX12 mode on the Steam Deck to use XeSS, it just crashes no matter what version of Proton we're using, so I'm just going to skip that for now. But maybe later on, if people are interested, I can go back and look at more games that this technology is added to. So we'll jump right into it here, starting with Death Stranding Definitive Edition. For Death Stranding, we're running the game at 720p using the default game settings. The only thing we're changing is the upscaling technique, and on the left side here we have the native image, and on the right side we have XeSS. Starting off, we'll do more of a performance comparison and then dive into an image quality comparison. Now for a lot of the moments during this opening cutscene, the frame rate's actually extremely similar between the native image and XeSS. At most, I would say we get a 10 to 15% better frame rate on XeSS. Unfortunately, this isn't the best. Right now, I'm using the quality preset for XeSS. There's quite a few: ultra quality, quality, balanced, performance, and ultra performance, so you can definitely mess around with it. But for now, quality was what I want to target because the Steam Deck already has a low resolution of around 800p, so not dropping below the quality preset is definitely preferred here. Now during actual gameplay and running around here, the frame rate is once again very similar, and actually this time it's even more similar than what we saw in the cutscene. Frame rate rarely goes outside 10 to 15% performance improvement, and generally here we see very similar performance between native and XeSS at quality preset. Definitely, if you want better performance here, using XeSS, you will have to drop the quality on the Steam Deck to something like balanced to improve your frame rates. Now we'll jump over into a performance comparison between XeSS at performance mode and FSR 2 at performance mode as well. There is a FSR 2.1 update for this game, but I currently don't have it installed, so this is just FSR 2.0. Using the opening cutscene here again, we'll check the performance comparison. With FSR 2.0 generally, we are a couple frames ahead of XeSS, with both running at quality settings here. Between the two, FSR 2.0 is the only one that really goes into the 50s and even touches 60 FPS at points, but generally, they're both hanging in the mid-40s. I don't know the specifics about what internal resolution XeSS uses at quality settings here, but I'm assuming that both of these are rendering at the same internal resolution and then upscaling using their own methods here. Additionally, from what I've seen, XeSS seems to prefer some Intel GPU hardware, where it accelerates better on that versus generic things like AMD and Nvidia GPUs, but here in this scene you can see that the frame rate is higher on the FSR 2.0 side. In actual gameplay, the story is much the same, where FSR 2.0 enjoys a few frames over XeSS, but generally less than 10%. If we were to do a direct comparison between FSR 2.0 and native here, you'd probably see closer to a 15 to 20% improvement generally, but we aren't really touching 60 FPS here on average with FSR 2.0 still. Slowing things down now and doing a direct image quality comparison here between FSR and XeSS at quality settings, I can definitely see XeSS has some advantages when it comes to fast moving objects like these crows. On FSR, they definitely have a softness and a bit of a pattern around them, and even around the bike when Sam's going fast here. A lot of these temporal solutions have some problems with fast moving objects because you're using data from previous frames. Now FSR 2.1 does have some direct improvements to ghosting, which is a problem with regular FSR 2.0 here, and if we look at the fast moving objects such as the bird's wings and other things that are moving pretty fast, they do leave a bit of a haze or a trail behind them compared to XeSS here from what I can tell. On this close-up shot here of our main character, I do find FSR 2.0 to look a bit sharper than XeSS, and I do prefer the look it has. Now comparing our main character running around in actual gameplay, I find XeSS to have a softer look around the limbs. There's a bit of ghosting I can notice on the edges of the backpack and the arms when they're swinging around. I actually prefer this look though. On FSR 2.0, there's also ghosting on the moving limbs and the edges of the backpack as it swings around, but it actually leaves more of a grainy haze around the whole body part than just leaving that little bit of ghosting that we see on XeSS here. So while FSR 2.0 is sharper, it does affect more of the image quality around the character and degrades it quite a bit, whereas with XeSS we have a softer look but it still does have ghosting. As I mentioned earlier, FSR 2.1 does directly improve this ghosting behavior we do see here on FSR 2.0. Now swinging on over to Spider-Man on the Steam Deck, XeSS is supported natively in this title, but you do need to add a mod to actually enable it from in-game. Now when it comes to performance, they're both using the low preset with texture filtering set to 4x and using the quality resolution for the internal resolution of both upscalers. Generally I find these both to perform pretty good and they're both staying well above 30 FPS for the most part. By no means is this a direct comparison, as I'm swinging through the same part of the city here, but I don't have it lined up directly with the swings, so the performance here will vary depending on what we can see in the map, but I do find FSR 2.0 to perform better on average here than XeSS does, but they both perform quite a bit better than native does. Slowing things down once again, and just using the running animation here, we can see XeSS has significantly more ghosting than FSR 2 does. I personally never found the ghosting in FSR 2.0 to be that bad in this title. There's a little bit I can notice around Spider-Man when he bobs up and down, but on XeSS there are many ghosting frames left behind Spider-Man as he moves around. When we slow things down while Spider-Man's moving very quickly, we can notice some key differences here. XeSS still has a lot of ghosting images left behind Spider-Man, and now his rope too when he's moving around at high speeds. FSR 2.0 looks decent, but I actually do notice that there's quite a bit of artifacting happening around Spider-Man while he's moving pretty fast. Not the most ghosting here, but it doesn't look great. It's degrading the image around those areas while he's moving around quickly. For this, I'd say it has to come down to personal preference. I do still think there's a ton of ghosting happening on XeSS, but some people might prefer the smoother look there versus the more degraded look you can get on FSR 2.0 when there's a lot of fast movement happening around Spider-Man. Overall, I think XeSS is a good first step for Intel into the upscaling market. It's always good to have more upscalers that work on a wide variety of hardware. Personally, I still think the newest versions of DLSS 2 look the best, but they only work on Nvidia hardware obviously, as they have special cores there that they're accelerated by, and the new DLSS 3 also looks very interesting with its frame generation technology that will be unique there, accelerating using more specific hardware on the Nvidia cards. In general though, it's really nice to know that the Steam Deck has another upscaler it can use in its toolkit if you're playing docked or just handheld to try to hit a frame rate target. Now one really nice thing to keep in mind is that all these algorithms generally support the same inputs, so that means if a game just supports DLSS, modders have done a pretty good job of adding FSR 2.0 in there, and I assume XeSS will probably be pretty similar. And another thing to keep in mind is that maybe as newer versions of XeSS come out, you can drop the DLL files into older games to improve the version that one has, similar to FSR and DLSS. That's about going to wrap it up though, guys. I will leave you with the opening of Death Stranding, slowed down to 50% for both FSR 2.0 and XeSS for a while though, just in case you wanted a more extended look at the image quality comparison between both of them running on the Steam Deck. That's all though for me. Thanks for watching this video and consider subscribing and liking the video. Later.